Hello and welcome to the Fit Fuzz podcast, episode number 53, our second last episode of 2024. Mate, what is happening?
Good, mate. I struggled to think. I was so much going through my brain. I was about to say I'm better than you because you look fucking horrific and you sound
Thank you, mate.
horrific.
Thank you. You are on, it's what, 9 a.m. and you're on your third can of Monster.
Well, mate, it's a perception thing. I've been up. This is the middle of the afternoon for me, mate. I've been up since about 3:30. So yeah, mate, third kind of monster.
Fair enough, man. So you'll be tweaking like you were last week.
I'll tell you what, mate. I passed my driving test at the ripe old age of 32 yesterday.
Yes!
But I'll tell you what, mate. I wasn't prepared for it well in the sense that I'd done 125 lessons over a 16-year period, so I couldn't be any more prepared for it in that sense. But do you know what would be a shite way to set you up for it? So Jen, who's diabetic, my missus, she's got a new diabetic app that tells her when she's going low blood sugars. But the thing fucking beeps like a fire alarm. No less. I thought it only went off 4 or 5 times during the night, which is still enough to wake you up. Imagine you being woke up by alarm 4 or 5 times. It's hard to argue with somebody who I'm like, well, that alarm's going off because it's a fucking danger to your life. But like, it's been off 4 or 5 times. Jen said it went off 7. I'm like, fuck. So we had that, went off 7 times the night before. Finn also, because the entire family wakes up when you hear that. So the dog went, Finn went every time, try to get them back to sleep. So I probably got fucking minimal sleep. Jen decided it was also a great idea of every day of the year to turn off the heating. So literally got up and it was fucking freezing. Bear in mind that we've still got single glazing windows upstairs, so you can see your fucking breath. And then there was something else that happened. I can't really remember what it was. But anyway, I took a can of Monster because my driving test was at 10 past 10. I had a can of Monster, a coffee, and 2 scoops of pre-workout before I went on my test because I was like, I was so tired yesterday. I'm like, I'm not waiting 16 years and 9 months on a waiting list to pass this. I will deal with the repercussions later.
Oh
I
my
still had,
days.
mate, I passed. Couldn't feel my face. My right turns were sharp, but I was going to say, I got to 2 o'clock in the day, mate, where I came back and I had fucking tons of check-ins to do because I'd put them off from the morning. Just on the crash as well, mate.
Oh.
I was like, the tiredness plus the come down was happening.
Mhm.
The app that I use, Loom, to record, just worldwide had an outage, mate. I spent an hour and a half clicking buttons trying to get it working again, thinking it was a me issue, updated everything, deleted things, went on Twitter, turns out it was an outage on their side of things. I got to 4:30 yesterday, not doing a fucking ounce of work and just gave up on the day, mate. So I had to get up super early today to try and get back on it.
Oh man, that is absolutely heartbreaking. I would have tapped out as well, man. I can't believe you had that much before you went to fucking drive. An hour long test and you had it done in 5 minutes.
Oh, mate. If I got drug tested, fuck. I'm telling you, we'd have been in trouble. Mate, I got two minors. One of them was for being because I thought I smashed it, mate. I was literally at the end of it. I'm going, if he's failing me, I don't know what he's failing me on. But I was aware that when I turned into a street, there was a parked car, and I was like, oh, I think I was a wee bit too close to that parked car. I was like, I don't know if that's a fail. But I was close. I know that I definitely wasn't a door width. I think my wing mirror was almost touching their wing mirror. But I had that, which he did bring up, and I was like, I did notice that. And he said I didn't stop at a point where it was a stop sign, or like he didn't think I came to a complete stop. And I have genuinely no recollection of it because I thought I was overdoing it. But when you can see sounds, mate, it's hard to know if I was,
Yeah,
if I had or not.
100%. Do you use is it the same different in Ireland where you need to come to a complete stop at like a stop sign or like a giveaway?
Yeah,
Complete stop?
complete stop. Yeah.
Aye. We don't need to. I don't know if we need to do that here. Don't. I think you can still be rolling, and if it's safe to go, you go. I could be completely wrong. But in Canada it was like that. Like stop signs, known like the main roads and stuff like that. But I know that they call them like subdivisions, basically just schemes. If there was a stop sign, it was usually a full way stop sign. You had to completely stop if your wheels were rolling, even a kilometre an hour, you get fined.
Yeah, mate, it's the same as a fail here. Well, technically, I didn't get failed. The guy was just being generous, I think, but it's meant to be, I think. because I genuinely can't remember. But mate, you're right. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. I'd be looking, going, "There's literally
Yeah.
nothing coming for about 10 miles, but you need to come to a complete stop." And the biggest issue is I'd been driving a lot before this driving test without an instructor in the car, so it was a case of I got into some bad habits. So I was more so just trying to. This is my thing. I was trying to overdo it. I was like, just drive like you're fucking
Yeah.
16 years old and you've never done this before. Like it was,
Well,
yeah.
that's it. Now that you've passed, now you'll learn how to drive properly.
Well, that's it.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you need to learn how to drive a specific way to pass the test, and then once you're on the road, that's when you learn how to actually drive because you're always vigilant about other drivers, and you basically need to keep up with the way that other people drive, so you're safe. Do you know what I mean? So you're not a hazard on the road.
I'll tell you what, mate. There are some fucking hazards on the road. I think there should be a rule that if anybody walks in front of a car, if they get hit, that's a them issue rather than a you issue. It would very much help. Like there's too much. There apparently is too much of the population. If you kill all the stupid people and the people who volunteer by walking in front of moving motors, they should be fucking just let them go. R.I.P. See you after.
I think you never ever get yourself a dash cam.
No, probably
Or
better.
maybe get yourself one to to show them that they walked it in front of you.
Mate, do you ever notice it's people who can't walk properly who always walk in front of cars? Like, have you? And the question I always ask on, can they not walk properly because they've walked in front of cars, or they walk in front of cars and can't walk properly? It's a question.
It's my one of my pet peeves is when they cross the road and then start looking. Like they've already started to cross and then they start looking, rather than looking before they start crossing. It fucking winds me up, so it does.
I'll see the ones that look and know that you could hit them and you need to slow down, but then they look the other way because if they can't see you, you don't exist.
Exactly. Aye. If I look the other way, he's not going to hit me. I'm not going to feel it.
I was going to say
Well, that's good.
they had,
Congratulations. Oh, sorry.
they had a few of them on VAR on Sunday, didn't they? Looking the other way.
You. We're not going to go there. We're not going to. I've already woke up not feeling great, and I don't want to be made to feel worse.
Mate,
I know. Congratulations, mate. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits for you. You honestly like so much more freedom being able to drive. It just opens up so many different doors and different avenues, man. It's very, very liberating. Don't get me wrong, it's an expensive liberation, shall we say, but it's completely worth every single penny or every single cent, I should say.
I'll tell you what was liberating, mate. I didn't get a well, albeit she did congratulate me, but do you know what Jen said to me pretty much straight away? You can pick it. I'm going out tonight. You can pick us up. Genuinely, first day of passing. That was what I've got. She's going out on Sunday again, picking her up. Well, I got to Scotland.
Brilliant.
She's like, you can do the drive. I'm like, class. There's me, literally baptism of fire, straight in there.
Straight into it, man. I was when I passed my test, um, I managed to pass with like six minors, and Jenna managed to fail with like four minors. It was crazy. Anyway, when I passed, I picked my car up from the opposite side of the city. I was living on the south side. The car garage was on the north side. So my dad took me to go and pick it up. Now this was before learner drivers were getting taught to go on the motorway. Now it's a thing. But my dad, he's like, follow me. And I was like, you're not going to take us the motorway way again. He's like, aye, straight into it, man. As soon as I picked the car up, I was straight on the motorway. I was shiting myself, and then I realised that it's actually easier to drive on the motorway than it is the streets.
I've always, I have driven the motorway a few times. It's a bit like fucking going to a nightclub without ID. I was like, I've been as much as I only got my 18th yesterday. I've been in nightclubs before. I have drove on the motorway, even though I was not meant to. But I've always kind of thought it's easier because it's fucking straight lines, isn't it? I know it's
Yeah.
fast, but like straight lines is the annoying things for me. Like people not indicating or like just randomly stopping people walking in front of your cars, like all those niggly things that are the annoying things. Not fucking just driving in straight lines, like.
Oh, they all pet peeves. They all pet peeves. Right, I will explain why my camera's blood, should I? Shall I? Sorry.
Go for it,
I'm
mate.
actually going to unblur it. Wait till you see this, man.
You
If you're,
moving?
if you're listening or listening on Spotify, have a look at the video because the whole house, like we're still living out of boxes because we've not been able to buy wardrobes and stuff yet. The whole house, everything that we own is in this spare room. It's in my office. I'm surrounded by it. I've got two guitars and a banjo on my left hand side here. Dirty washing on my right hand side. It is just fucking been chaotic this week because we finally got a painter decorator into the house. Finally. So You're gonna love this, mate. You're gonna absolutely love this. Bedroom's painted, living room's painted, right? Never realised until I took the photos what colours I've got.
Ah, I don't even need to guess, mate.
Bedroom is green and white, living room is white and orange.
Welcome to the cult, mate.
The dark side.
Yeah, welcome to the cult.
So I'm going to need to just get the whole red, white, and blue.
I was going to say, mate, considering you're wearing pretty much a Thistle jumper on at the moment, and you've got a green, white couple of rooms there, mate, it's probably a worthwhile decision. Your life, generally, there'll not be as much pain when you watch football anymore.
Fuck off.
Unless you're watching us in Europe, and then it's pain. But
no, not a chance.
At least you'll be in the Champions League, in fairness.
Fuck. Here's one for you as well. Rachel's mum bought Rachel's dad. It was his birthday not too long ago, and she bought him
two guitars and a banjo.
A meal. Two guitars and a banjo. A meal in Parkhead, Celtic Park.
Right.
And she's like, I'll pay for everybody to go for their Christmas, blah blah blah. They're going on Sunday. And she was like, "Oh, just come along, please, please. It's for Danny's birthday. I'm the only one that's not going. The only one that's not going. Danny's gutted, but yeah, I need to stay strong. There's no chance you'd catch me dead having a fucking three course meal at Parkhead.
Mate, if you go in there, you'll be able to see what the Scottish Cup looks like. I'm sorry. I'm all out of digs now. I'm done.
I seen that 2 years ago. You're all right.
I'm done. I'm done.
So, yeah, it's been fucking chaotic in my end as well. Not as exciting as passing driving tests and stuff like that, but finally we are making waves and getting the house all sorted. So the Christmas tree is going up tonight. Tonight being Friday evening for all your listeners, because this is obviously going to come out on Sunday. On that note as well, just quickly, apologies for last week for the episode coming out a day late. Full transparency, I got absolutely steaming drunk on Sunday. Realised I hadn't edited in what do you call that when you set up the podcast? Scheduled the podcast for release, and I was already about 5 pints deep during the football when I realised, and there was no chance I was doing it on the way back after the football, because on the way home from the pub, I was using the full width of the pavement.
Got your steps in, mate.
Got my steps in, mate. Got my steps in.
What was a beer of choice?
Moretti.
Oh, mate, that's dangerous. I love Moretti, but you can never, mate. You drink 2 or 3 of them, it's rocket fuel, mate.
Oh, the thing is, though, like, my mate actually said to me, he's like, for fuck's sake, Gary, you're fair putting name back. And it was because, see, you know what it's like when you're watching a football, you get nervous. My hands were a mess because I was like, squeezing them, I was rubbing them, and I needed something to distract me from squeezing my hands because they were sore. So I just kept my pint in my hand, and every time something happened, I was just like, fuck. And honest to God, I put away quite a few pints. And then on the Stoke home, it wasn't even a walk, it was a Stoke home. I had my earphones in, my wee kind of AirPoddy things, and the phone screen was a blur, right? So I'm trying to find a way to put a podcast on for the walk home, and it started ringing, and it was Rach, and I answered it, and I was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Look up." So I looked up, and she just happened to be driving past me, dropping her mate off because they went shopping. She went, "Get in the fucking car." I was such a mess. But yeah, I definitely paid for that Monday and quite possibly Tuesday, a wee bit of Tuesday as well.
I'll tell you what, just on that, like, I got absolutely fucking scalped with Jen booking Santa for Finn at 3:30 during the day. I'm like, it's the fucking Scottish Cup final. Like,
that's right.
So I was like, there's fucking nothing I can do about this. So I said to Jen, she's like, "You're a shite daft if you don't come." I'm like, fuck. Shite daft if you don't. I'm like, fuck, what did I do there?
You're a shite man for booking it.
I know, literally, but of all the fucking, can we not go at 12 in the day? No. I'm like, right, sound. So I stayed off, mate. I literally stayed off my phone all day. I literally do not disturb, aeroplane mode, put it all on. I'd attempted to see if I could record it on TV, but I couldn't. So I was like, I'm going to have to get home for 7:15 and just watch the highlights on Sports Scene without knowing what happened. I'm telling you, mate, that was a roller coaster. If I fucking swore at the telly one more time, usually in a game, it's so spread out that it's like you kind of forget between the next cheer or whatever. See, because there was so many goals and so much controversy and all that, like penalties as well. I was shouting at one point because you don't know what minute it is as well. Like
Aye.
I thought you so you had scored, and then it came up as coming into the last couple of minutes. It said on the commentary, I'm like, fuck. I was like, that's 1-0 coming into the last couple of minutes. I'm like, I didn't realise it was minutes of the first half. But I was like, fuck, we're getting pumped here 1-0. And then I was like, fuck, second half. And then like the goals that came across, I was like, oh, it's 2-1. Well, you're not coming back from that. I didn't know what minute it was, but by the sounds of it. And it was like you came back, and then I think it was maybe the 3-2 part. It was it. And the commentator said, looks like Celtic have sealed it. And I went, well, that's that then. I sat down the couch going, that'll be that then. And then all of a sudden it's 3 each. I went, you bastards.
We literally scored for kickoff after that third goal.
I'd say extra time, sorry, was abysmal because I've checked in about 3 different highlight reels and there's no highlights from extra time at all. Just go straight to penalties.
Aye, wasn't he?
Uh,
Wasn't he the best? Penalty claim.
Penalty claim. Being honest, mate, first time I watched it, I looked at it and I went, that looks a penalty. Genuinely, I didn't even look at the tug, mate. I was looking at him kicking it. I just thought that was very close to the box. And then, genuinely, when I watched it, I was like, well, so be honest, mate, I didn't know the rule was if tugs and slightly inside the box. I'll be honest, as much as a penalty by the law of the game, I think still shite penalties. Like, he wasn't going anywhere with the ball. I'd be raging if it was the other way about, but I'm still, the game's got to the point where you're giving fucking handballs and penalties for fucking.
Right.
The two, I'm glad that it was 2 Celtic fans on VAR. That was good. Cheers. But yeah, I was going to say, it did, on initial view, mate, I thought it was a penalty. Looking back at it and real time when it happened, I was still also like, I don't really, being honest, hand on heart, didn't know the rules were like, and whatever it was. But yeah, probably should have been, but get it
probably. Right. But anyway, we move forward. We've got the 2nd of January to look forward to. Right, here's a question for you, and it is gym related. What would you say is probably the exercise? No, this is just for regular gym goers. I'm not talking about, Olympic weightlifters and shit like that. But what would you say is not the exercise, but an exercise that is performed the poorest right across the board from a technical form standpoint?
I mean, I can think of 3 that I'll just name them the way they come.
Name them.
Bent over rows are horrific. People don't know how to keep position with their torso, their hips, their knees. I'd say even at the highest level, most people look horrendous doing them. Squats or lunges, because when it comes to knee flexion, hip flexion, most people, Western world, we sit down, ankle mobility, hip mobility, shite. Most people actually feel, not most, I'm generalising, a lot of people feel that they have to do these exercises because they see them on the internet and think they need to do them. So those, there was a third one that I thought in my head that I have completely, lat pull downs as well.
All right. Do you think people swing too much?
Just swings. It turns into more of a horizontal row than it does a vertical. The whole point of the lat pull down is to pull something down vertical, but if you're changing your torso angle to then be horizontal to the force that you may as well just be doing a seated row rather than the lat pull down. You can lift more weight because you're doing a fucking horizontal pull, not a vertical pull. But that's
agreed. One exercise that I see that just gets performed terribly, and you don't see many coaches correcting it, is kettlebell swings.
Okay.
It winds me up. Kettlebell swings up.
The squat with it, the squat part of it when people squat,
and then a front raise.
Yeah.
So for anybody that doesn't know what a kettlebell swing is, it is a hip hinge movement. It all comes through the hips. Your arms act like a pendulum. Your arms are supposed to be straight and floppy, essentially. They do not do any of the lifting. They just hold the kettlebell, and it all comes from the hips. You hinge back. Don't get me wrong, the very first rep, you can give yourself a wee bit of momentum with a wee tiny swing, and then you hinge back, and then you thrust your hips forward. And then the kettlebell will swing up in front of you. But I just see so many people literally doing a squat and then a front raise with a kettlebell, and it just, like, the trainers aren't, I mean, it's a very complex move and it's difficult to teach as well, especially if the client isn't very good with a hinge motion, which not many, especially beginners, not many beginners in the gym seem to be able to get that kind of hinge motion. So yeah, for me, I think it's probably more of an intermediate to advanced move. And I don't think beginners should be doing it now. I used to program it when I was a fucking tool back in Pure Gym and I didn't know anything. But yeah, just get it seen done so poorly. And then yeah, I'm feeling it in my back and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm feeling it in my shoulders. Just yeah, I don't know. I seen one this morning and I was like, fucking hell.
Mate, I think I said this in a podcast a while back. There was a guy who was meant to start with me about 4 years ago. He genuinely, with all intentions of getting started, and then he ghosted me. I naively met him up for a coffee. He gave us his life story. He was a big guy, and he was like, "Oh, I need to change, whatever." I was like, "When you want to get started Monday?" All that pish. Like he was like, "I can't really afford to give you the money till Thursday." And at the time, naively, was like, "I'll get you set up and started." I sent him over his program and never got paid for it. I just fucking whatever, followed up with me, ignored me, all that, right? Anyway, I seen him in the gym 4 years later, just earlier this year. He was with a PT. Now, bear in mind, this guy is about 150, 60 kilos. Like, the big guy. He was with a PT who, again, no, I'm just giving you context. Bodybuilder, like massive, big, fucking bubbly shoulders, whatever. The complete opposite ends of the spectrum. If there's a spectrum of two different types of people, both unhealthy. Other sides of the spectrum, teacher.
Yeah.
But then let's find a middle ground of what exercise they were doing. The guy at 150 kilos was doing burpees into kettlebell swings.
Yeah.
And the kettlebell swings were horrific. And I'm like, that guy has so much weight on his joints that a kettlebell swing is going to fuck him right up. And I'm like, the guy actually in the 4 years looked like he put on more weight. And I'm like, we could have just fucking solved this problem. Let's call him fucking Derek, for better words. If Derek had actually just done what he said he was going to fucking do in the first place. But yeah. Derek's now doing kettlebell swings, fucking up his back, thinking that he's going to have to suffer pain, and the reason he's suffering pain is because he's not fit enough to do it. It's nothing to do with being fit, it's just the fact that you've gone to the wrong PT, you're doing the wrong exercises, and doing things, they make you do things that you can't fucking do in the first place. Yeah. I would say, just to back you up on that point, kettlebell swings, anything from a beginner's point of view, that you are moving something with speed and force that can't be broken down bit by bit, and I'll explain that. A shoulder press. You do a shoulder press, I can slow the movement right down to any point in the movement and pretty much look at where's that breaking down, where do I need to change things positionally. You do that in a kettlebell swing, you can't, because in a kettlebell swing, you are swinging with force. It's coming away from your body. Anything that's coming away from your body, your centre of mass, put your hands, if you're listening to this, if you're in the car, don't do this, keep your hands in the wheel. But if you put your hands above your head, you can physically feel your abs and your lower back starting to go a little bit, because it's trying, your centre of mass is rising. You're trying to correct that to stay stable in your core. If you don't know how to control that and you start throwing away, of course your lower back's going to be fucked. So, in my opinion, like as an online coach, I tend not to program, unless somebody's exercise history is pretty good, I tend not to program kettlebell swings anyway. Like I train a couple of CrossFitters and stuff, and they might have that and whatever. And if I know I can see they've got good exercise form, then yes. But like for me, I'm like, I wouldn't go fucking near a kettlebell swing for a lot of people. But yes, it is performed poorly. To give you a wee tip, if you are doing kettlebell swings, what a kettlebell swing should feel like is at the top of the movement, when you've swung it, it should feel weightless. Like it shouldn't feel a burn on your arms. If anything, it's like Olympic lifting. Again, that's probably a poor analogy to use for somebody who can't do a kettlebell swing, because you'll know what that feels like. But it should feel, if you've played golf, it should feel weightless. When you hit something, you strike a ball, when you've done it well, it'll feel weightless because the technique is there. It should feel weightless at the top of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, even the same as like I'll use the example as playing football as well. When you catch a volley with the right technique and right exactly where you want to hit it, and it feels like you've kicked a balloon, that is what a kettlebell swing should feel like. Do you know that analogy? I mean, when you catch it right in the sweet spot and it just feels like there's nothing, like, effortless.
Mate, you know you're asking me. You know I've never hit a kettlebell volley like that. I can dream. I've done it in FIFA once, mate. I pressed the right button.
There was something else that I was going to. Oh yeah, you were talking about bodybuilder PTs. I don't know if we spoke about this in the podcast before, but I was
Before,
actually speaking to. Eh?
before you go there, hold that thought. Remember it, please, because I don't want you
Yeah.
forgetting it. So I do want to
Okay.
go there. You've remembered it. You got it wrote down. I just don't want to move on without asking you this question.
Okay.
Just when you're talking about programmed exercises, what's the worst exercise you've ever programmed for somebody?
Oh. Oh, this is a good one. Probably fucking calf raises.
tell
Like, calf
me,
raises
tell me
for
more. Tell me more.
a middle-aged overweight woman. Like, who the fuck? What? Do you know incline walking? Like, fuck off. Like, um, yeah. I would never program. I'm the same as you. I would never program swings unless somebody knew what they were doing, and I knew they knew what they were doing. If they were just telling me, "Oh, I can kettlebell swing," or not, I need to see it. Um, yeah, probably calf raises. Like, for somebody that doesn't need them. Like, if you're carrying a bit of weight um on your skeleton, like you're gonna have bigger calves because you're carrying a bit more weight. So why the fuck do I need to give you calf raises? Just to hurt, just to burn, so you feel like you're actually doing something. This actually leads me into the point that I'm going to talk about in a wee second. But what would you say yours? Oh no, maybe I know you like this one, but Renegade Rose.
Mm.
Renegade Rose as well because it's essentially just a high plank. You're not getting the full stretch of a row, so you can't load it properly. So your back's not doing too much work.
Cool. The way I would look at a renegade row, I wouldn't be using it for the viewpoint of a pulling exercise. I'd be more so. So anyone who struggles with trunk stability and needs to improve that, or is looking at getting better at pressing mechanics, I'd be using it more so to develop both of them at the same time. There are better exercises, granted. Yeah, I would agree. If you're using it as a pulling exercise, which some people do,
Yeah,
horrific. Don't use it as a pulling exercise because you're diluting it so much by.
yeah.
I'd probably still say it's better than most people's bent over rows, but that's
I would say maybe a renegade row then more kind of focusing towards a more of a core exercise, definitely more of a core exercise and more of a kind of conditioning exercise
yeah,
rather than it being hypertrophy, kind of muscle building or kind of strength
yeah.
based.
I would say I actually had this conversation the other day. It's just when you said it, it sparked something in me. You know, see when you do that thing where you hold two plates by your side and you do the wee oblique.
Oh,
Mate, I'll tell you what. I just moved to Australia. This was about 10 years ago, and bear in mind I'd been a PT for about 3 years at this point. There was a girl who constantly was like every session she came in was like, right, I want to do something different today. I want to do something, and it'd be a chopping and changing of, I want to do something that works my core more. I want to just do core
yeah,
exercises, and you know that way I was probably no, I wasn't probably. I was just that was what it was. I was too young and not
naive.
strong enough my own approach to go, no, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And you don't say like it or lump it, but like that's not going to be of any benefit to you. So I was kind of more going, well, I'm in Australia, I need to make money and she's happy enough to do
Yeah,
this. So I'll just start fucking making things that feel good for her. Yeah, I started doing the oblique twists or the oblique side bends. And I'm like, literally thinking about it, going, those make no fucking sense whatsoever. You've got a counterweight on your other side as well. It might work if you've got one arm in one hand, one weight in one hand, and
yeah,
not the other. But I would say that's probably it. But like, same as yourself, mate. I've programmed things at any given time that thinking, not for the badness of it, but like at the time, I've always kind of went, well, like when I used to have wee John, my first client in college, I was like, I'd be getting him doing like fucking German volume training, 10 sets of 10 and squatting. Not because at the time I thought that it was genuinely like a bad exercise. I hand on heart thought that was a way to train him. It was
yeah.
always from the intentions of going, that was the best way to train him. But clearly, a 55-year-old man or a
Doing
56-year-old man
GVT.
doing 10 sets of 10 with 30 seconds rest in between a load that's about his body weight and not understanding why he couldn't walk for 2 weeks.
So would you say that's the worst you've programmed? Either the standing side bends with a counterweight in the other hand or GVT squats?
Yeah, mate, if I say any more, I'm probably going to get some fucking solicitor's letters in the door.
Right, on to the point I was going to talk about, and it was talking about because you mentioned the bodybuilder PT, and I do think we briefly touched on this on the podcast previously, but I was speaking to another coach last night about it, and she was actually asking me. I think she was speaking to a couple of her clients about it as well, and she's like, "What is your view on, bodybuilder PTs and the impact that their own eating disorders and body dysmorphia issues can have on the industry and on their own specific clients?" And I think I mean, this is only, I don't mean every single bodybuilder PT is going to be like this, but I have witnessed a fair few over my time working in public gyms and stuff like that, and it can be quite dangerous. To a point where, they are projecting their own insecurities onto their clients and stuff as well. And their clients are like, if you're a bodybuilder PT and you've got a middle-aged woman who's in the kind of the obese category, like they're already there with eating issues and body image issues anyway. You don't need to make that worse by saying you need to train like this if you want to look like this. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I witnessed women getting put through a full arm day and all that, which to me is just fucking mind-boggling. But that can have the effect of putting these putting these members, these clients, these like people that are struggling off going to the gym, off getting PTs because they think that that's all it's about is doing an arm day, doing a chest day, doing a back day, doing a leg day, and eating nothing but chicken, rice, and broccoli because it's optimal. And you need to eat fucking 4 or 5 meals a day and make sure they're evenly spread. And so yeah, what is your opinion on basically what I said there, like bodybuilder PTs kind of projecting their own insecurities onto more specifically their own clients, and even on like social media too. You know what? It's bad on social media, especially Instagram, the fucking cesspit that is Instagram. If you don't do something that lines up with their morals or their beliefs, then it's wrong, and then they do nothing but out you and call you small and tell you that you're not lean and shit like that.
Um, I'd probably be looking firstly, like let's break it down. Why do people go to bodybuilders in the first place?
Yeah.
And it's probably the underlying fact that everybody wants to, from a perspective, look better. And when you look at bodybuilders, like whether you agree with what they do or not, we're at a position where we can probably tell pretty quickly if somebody's taking performance enhancing drugs, if somebody's like a competitive bodybuilder or not. Now, a lot of general public can't genuinely. Like I still get asked questions. What I take relatively simple nowadays, where I just go on the gear, not on the gear. Like I can do it in seconds. Like I literally like that. It's not always been that way, but I take that for granted sometimes. Most of the general population will just be like, "Oh, they're in the best shape. They'll get me in the best shape," and you're like, it's not necessarily their fault, but ultimately, the people who are in that shape, the reason people go to people in that shape is because ultimately there is a what appears would be a level of credibility to what they say because they are walking and talking the walk of being in good shape.
Hmm.
The issue is it's almost like being financially advised by somebody who's built a fortune selling drugs, like as
Yeah.
to how to get it. The way that they've got it's not unless you want to do it the same way, their financial advice almost becomes irrelevant. The biggest issue with getting to the position I've genuinely no issues with somebody who's open and honest about what they do and whatever, but where it lacks transparency is the issue in the sense that like
Yeah.
bodybuilders, in my opinion, is a completely different sport to just health and fitness advice. The problem is when they overlap or when they know they can make
Yeah.
business from people who are in that middle ground. Because for me, bodybuilding is rife with performance enhancing drugs. There's two different camps. There's the people who are honest about it, and there's that or the people who are very genetically gifted. But either way, on those two, there's very few that are kind of outliers to that. So if you're either very genetically gifted or in performance enhancing drugs, your advice becomes very irrelevant to the average person unless you're really good at breaking things down. For me, performance enhancing drugs, they're effective, but they validate bad training methodology. You can do
Yeah.
an arms day. Your muscles will grow without you training, which is fucking mental to think about. But like you can do an arms day and you'll get leaner and you'll get stronger and you'll put on more muscle mass. For Linda, who's come off the couch, she can do an arms day and she can do an arms day and she can do a leg day and she can do a back day and she can do that for 6 months and nothing will change for her.
Hmm.
there's the issue. But the thing is, they'll then, when that's not working, because it's worked for said person,
Yep.
they'll be like, the issue is it's not working for you, so it's actually not. It can't be my training because it's working for me.
Yeah.
It'll need to be the things that I'm not seeing. Did you go out on Saturday night? Yes. What did you have? And Linda thinks she's done great because she's only had 3 glasses of wine and she's not had a takeaway. No, you're having 3 glasses of wine. Like, there's just take that away. When you start stripping it back like that, it starts to get to the point. It's like, right, are you eating your chicken broccoli? Cool. Are you eating your chicken broccoli from Tupperware? Right, okay, tick that off. Are you, like, it starts to get to the point where the minutia is you don't need that to get in shape. And I can't stress that enough. It's an unregulated industry. We can't save everybody from this. And to be fair, I'm not saying the question originally was bodybuilding putting in like their own perceived. The question was perceived ideas into the general public. That was I right in kind of saying that question? Yeah. The issue for me is it's a sport, and the sport, as much as I would see on the surface level, it would transfer to normal human beings. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
It does not at all.
Yeah.
Aye, and you know, trying to kind of find that connection and make it fit is where it can be dangerous and it can be off-putting. Which is, I just thought I would talk about it because that is an interesting one. You're right in what you say. Like, people go to bodybuilder PTs because of they're more aesthetically pleasing, shall we say. They want to look a wee bit leaner, a wee bit more muscly, and they think this bodybuilder PT who does look more lean and more more muscle mass knows how to get them there. When in reality, even though Linda and the PT both have their own issues with food and body images, it's on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. It is like polar opposite. One, one is really dialed in with their food, and maybe they feel like if they eat anything other than chicken, broccoli, and rice, then they're going to lose their appeal. They're going to lose their muscle mass. Whereas Linda, who has 3 glasses of wine on the weekend and then binges every second day because she's emotionally stressed and a lot of work stress going on. So 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And I don't think like there is that disconnect between trying to kind of find that what's that emotional way of being able to help Linda. Whereas that's something that we can help on a much deeper level. We can help with, on a much deeper level because we've lived and breathed it. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to add to that. Sorry, my old fucking chest infection is kicking in because the caffeine's starting to wear off. But the mask is slipping. There's 2 things on this. Like, not all, just because somebody's a bodybuilder doesn't mean they're a bad coach.
100%. Yeah.
You can't blanket everybody like that. I'm sure there are things out there, but also on the same premise, you shouldn't go to a coach just because they're a bodybuilder, or actually, and that's probably a separate argument, but still overlaps, in great shape. Because the things I would avoid is people who are in fucking terrible shape, full stop. But just because they're in great shape doesn't necessarily mean they're a great coach. The way that you can navigate that is you need to ask better questions. So if you're looking for a PT in January or whatever, fucking December, January, February, whatever, if you're looking for a PT, full stop, right? Questions to ask is they should be asking what problems you're having at the moment. Where do you want to be and what problems are you having at the moment? What are the biggest obstacles that in your beliefs that are getting you in the first place? And a lot of the time Linda will come out and go, well, I've never been to a gym before and I enjoy a fucking takeaway on a Saturday night and have a few glasses of wine. Like, if the person you're speaking to can't actually give you a reasonable workaround to that like if their response to that is, well, you can't do that, like, it's probably maybe not the person you should go to. Like, I am going to caveat that with people love to hear that they can still do exactly what they want to do and still get great results. To a level, if you do that, then like you probably can. It's just you need to be really clever, and a lot of people aren't, again, to the level of detail that they need to be to get away with it. So probably does need to be an element of structure and sacrifice in that, and that's okay. But the opposite end of that is you don't want somebody to come in and just being transparent about it. Like, a lot of people are still tied to the fact that you like good and bad foods, labeling foods, clean and bad. And the reason to do that is because I feel like we're fucking bringing out the old count your calories again. But the reason for that is people think counting your calories is restrictive because they don't know how to do it. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're not controlling something, you're being controlled by it, which means that you have to go good or bad foods. So you'll then go to good foods Monday to Friday, chicken, broccoli.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that bad at the weekend. And it's like, well, you fucking kicked arse right out of it, didn't you? Like, I was going to say, 3 square sausages, Davy boy. Did you need 3 square sausages? For people in Ireland, square sausages fucking change your life. Not 3 of them, not needed. Unless it's Christmas Day. Don't cook them with hot sauce though, because that'll fuck you up. You'll lose weight. But
hot sauce and
yeah,
what?
My dad done it with chili sauce once, man. It fucking, he didn't mean it. My dad's also colourblind, so he thought it was a yellow oil that was red, man. I'm telling you, potato scone and square sausages, my arse is only just about recovered. That was about 15 years ago.
That is fantastic, man.
Yeah, don't do that. But a lot of people, the biggest issue is that they get to the weekends. Now, the answer is you can't do exactly what you're doing at the moment and expect different results, but also you shouldn't have to cut out everything. And the majority of the time, bodybuilders, because their sport dictates you need to do all that, they'll probably try and impose that. Unless they're very good at coaching, they'll probably try and impose that on you.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be making changes that, A, you have to make to get you to where you want to be, and B, that actually complements your lifestyle in some way. You don't want to completely overhaul your life unless that's the route that you do want to go down, which 9 times out of 10 isn't for general population. Like, you want to have something that is streamlined and seamless as possible to get you kind of set up for for success and that kind of long-term success as well that everybody's really after. Everybody thinks they want to do a 12-week program and get into the shape of their life. But what people are really after is that sustainability, being able to stay in shape or feel better for an extended period of time rather than just get in shape after 12 weeks or 16 weeks of training, feel good for a couple of weeks and then start resorting back to the older habits that have led them to asking a PT for help in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I feel a lot of things get a hard time. A lot of times, like, I think, like, challenges get a hard time, PTs get a hard time. Like, I mean, you could probably throw shade on just about everything. Everybody has a viewpoint and a standpoint. And actually, I think there's no issue. I've always said this. There's a particular gym in this, like where I live, who do transformations, but they're all based on challenges. I constantly hear people, like, giving out about it. Like, I'd say they probably have an intake of, 100 people per challenge. And there's, again, I'm pulling the numbers out my arse here, but, like, let's say there's 8 really good transformations at the end of it, and they are really good transformations. There's probably 92 who failed at it because what it would be perceived as unsustainable. Mm-hmm. The argument is always, is that challenge effective or not? The people running the challenge will be like, well, I've got 8 massive transformations out that have changed 8 people's lives. Like, there was 92 people who couldn't fit into it. And the argument to the 92 is like, well, why didn't the 92? And the argument for the 8 is those 8 people's lives have changed. The biggest thing is understanding what you're getting yourself into. Do you have a plan for if you're going on an 8-week challenge, week 9? Like, is the big thing I would always ask. And again, if you pay less, there's a good chance that you're probably going to be delivered less. And if that's okay, but be aware of that. Don't go in and then fucking complain that you paid 60 quid for 8 weeks and they didn't give you day-to-day support because you've paid 60 quid. Fucking have a look at the economy, mate. Like, 60 quid's probably not kept the heating on for them. So, like, there is an element of you have to be aware of what you're signing up for. But not everything is bad, but just be aware that once you're in the position that you believe you want to be in, do you understand how you got there? Do you understand, like, you should be making hay when the sun is shining? Make sure that once you're in that position, you know how to stay in that position. There's a good chance if it's a sprint, as in like an 8-week challenge, 10-week challenge, 12-week challenge, whatever, the fucking challenge, throw in another couple of numbers of its challenge, you are doing a time period where, like, realistically, there is a sprint to get there. And a bit like anything, like a marathon, a half marathon, a 10K, the peak of that should be at the end of the 12 weeks. And there probably is going to be a little bit of regression. And that's where most people get fucked up. Yeah. But understanding that little bit of regression is okay, but how do we maintain that after you've put on 2 kilos? Are we happy enough to keep fucking, that's where we stay for a bit? Or are we going to go, I'm still feeling okay. I'm still fitting into a medium now. Still feeling good in myself. I'm like, then 6 weeks time going, oh, I can just about squeeze into the medium. I'll just get on it next Monday, and then next Monday becomes 4 weeks later and go, oh, that gym's running another 6 week challenge. I might jump on that. And I'm like, your before picture now is worse than the before picture you had before.
It's almost like Slimming World, like almost like feeding you enough information to see progress, but not giving you enough information to sustain it, so you keep going back.
Yeah, I've always said that. I'm like, Slimming World is effective. Like, it has one of the best business
100%.
models. Like, yeah, they've got people who are tied to it. Like, we still coach people that have been to Slimming World, and I'm
Yeah,
not going to lie, it's difficult to coach them out of some of the preconceived ideas. It's difficult to coach people into a new mentality, full stop. But
yeah.
when you've got those preconceived ideas, what is it, a mashed banana is fucking less sins than a full banana? Like, apparently it loses calorific value if it's been forked. Like, fuck me.
It's mental, absolutely mental. I think it was the other way about. I think a mashed banana has more sins than a full banana because apparently, like when it's crushed, it releases more sugars or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't understand the full um, Slimming World science behind it, but yeah, it's a bizarre concept.
Fucking no science, mate.
There's literally no science there. It's just fucking word vomit. But yeah, just being super mindful and being careful and like Kyle said, understanding completely the situation that you are getting yourself into, especially if it is a 6, 8, 10, 12 week program that you're paying, quite a low rate for. If you're paying a low rate, you're going to get a lower service. You might get less information. You might not get that kind of day-to-day support that you really are after. But again, that's how these programs are so successful in getting people in because they are, um, people are seeing those 8 transformations from 100 and they're thinking, "Fuck, that could be me." It's not too expensive, and
I'm going to ask, sorry for interrupting, I'm going
right,
to ask you the question, mate, because I think
right,
we're going to give any value to people in January, let's make it fucking valuable.
yeah.
What is the average rate that what are rates people should be paying? Because there'll be people not having a fucking clue what is a decent program to pay. I know it's probably an unfair question to put you on the spot and ask you, mate, but I think, like, again, if we're going to throw out prices and stuff, people don't understand what those are. So, what, in your opinion, should
Was this for a pro fuck's sake, what were we just talking about? A
like
challenge, like
a
a challenge or like a one-to-one coach?
both, mate, just from your experience, mate. I'm not asking you to throw out what your prices are, but like in terms of what people should expect in terms of like the pricing structure, like I will go first if you want. Like I'm happy to whatever. I personally think that you're unlikely. Like if you're talking online coaching, the market at the moment, like you're probably talking somewhere between 200 and 300 quids a month. You're talking about for having online coaching, and that's to be at the better end of it. There will be slight outliers below that, but I mean there tends to be a scale within reason that the higher somebody's charging, the more value that they're going to be able to
Yeah,
give you. From a PT point of view, I mean, you'll be lucky, I'd say, to get a PT who like gives you sessions for less than 30 quid, like an hour or whatever the going rate for PTs is. I say between 30 and 40. I mean, I might be slightly off here because again, euros and pounds are slightly different, but like you're probably 30 and 40 for that. I mean, you can jump in if you disagree with any of this, but and the reason I'm saying this, if somebody's offering you PT sessions at 12 quid a session, like there's one or two things. They're looking at getting money in quick because they've not got clients and don't have the marketing skills or social backing to be able to get them. So realistically, you're going into a very untapped, like you're going into an unknown. Like you don't know how good this person is. Just because a PT is a PT doesn't mean they're a PT. Say that again with a drink in you.
there we go.
But yeah, I was going to say that like there's a good chance that they're not going to be able to deliver, and that's fine. It's reflected in their price, but you are taking a massive risk on that. There tends to be a bit of a fluctuating scale as to that. Like, but again, challenge wise, I don't really know how much people charge for challenge. Have you got any idea on challenges or anything like that?
I don't, man. Maybe I'm going to just take a wild stab in the dark here. For like a 12-week challenge, 200 quid.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's what roughly what I would guess. 8 week challenge, yeah, maybe like 150, 100 to 150, something like that. So right there, right off the bat, you can see the difference between a one-to-one coach and a one-to-one online coach and a 12-week challenge. That's about um, over a 12-week period, three times as much if you were one-to-one coach. So of course, people are going to weigh those two options up and say, do I want to spend 600 quid over 3 months for a one-to-one coach, or do I want to spend 200 quid for a 12-week challenge? You're going to go for the 200 quid all day long, let's be honest. So just know that just because it's shinier doesn't always make it better. And
I'm going to jump in there for a second.
Mhm.
So yes, 100% people are likely to do this because we think short term. And in the short term, am I going to be where I want to be at the end of 12 weeks with both? Probably. Yeah, like there's a good chance with both of them you are. The results in the short term, 12 weeks, not massively different. But the difference at the end of a year is I would guarantee you almost everybody who picks a 12-week option, there's probably, let's go for 100. Out of those 100 people, out of the, let's say, there's 50% of them get results. Out of 50 people, so you've got 50% who get results. Out of the 50% who gets results, I would probably go as far to say as 80% of them will rebound, because there is statistics done on rebounding from dieting, because there's literally no accountability. All the things that got you there in the first place, accountability, community, all that shit, right, it's gone. So see you after. And you've learned nothing along the way. So there's probably 80% of people who don't get results. So at this point, you've got 20 out of 100 people who have got results and have managed to stay there. There's 80 people, and I still think that's even being generous. There's 80% of people who started this and who haven't. And out of those 80% of people, you'll probably find that whilst they've played 200 quid for a challenge, because they got semi-decent results to start off with, they think that that's what they need to do again in a better place. To play mind games with themselves, going, January wasn't the right time because you know what? Stephen had his 30th on the 22nd of January and I went on the pints and I shouldn't have. Whereas the next 12 weeks, I've got fucking nothing planned. I'll be fine. And like that's what they pay another 200 quid because the time's better. So then they try it again and realise at the end of it, they still not be able to get results. And by the end of the year, they've probably paid 600 quid anyway, just to yo-yo up and down around the corner and actually have nothing to show for it. They've just spread it out over a longer period of time. Whereas with any good coach worth the salt, like, look and make sure they actually do have credentials to say they do what they're meant to have. They should be able to, like, you should either be able to see from their clients whatever that they produce the thing. They should have enough evidence to say that. You should also be able to have a conversation with them in the sense that, like, when you speak to them, do they instill confidence in me? Do I like this person?
Yep.
Like, do I like the way that they talk? Like, if those things are true, then yes, you should be able to find that at the end of a 6 week, or sorry, not a 6 week period, fucking becoming that car salesman myself. At the end of a 12-week period, like, 12 weeks is enough to change someone's life. Depends what starting point you are, but 12 weeks should be enough to change someone's life. You should, whilst you've paid fucking 600 quid to a grand or whatever it is, are you in the best shape of your life? Do you know how you've got there? Do you know how to stay there? Can you navigate the things in between? Like, did Stephen's birthday on the 22nd of January when you're with an online coach or with a PT, were you able to navigate that because they actually gave you the tools to navigate that and didn't make you feel like a dickhead for having a few too many pints? 100%. If you've managed to navigate that, guess what? See in April when it's over and you have a 2 week holiday and you've asked them, oh, by the way, I've got a 2 week holiday coming up. How do I navigate that? And they give you advice and you've come back from a 2 week holiday and you're still in great shape. Fucking, there you go. There's your money's worth. Like,
100%, completely agree. Well done for breaking that down extremely well, mate.
I was going to say, I function my best when I'm dying for a piss and I'm high on caffeine. That's what
Every single episode, you're dying for a piss.
3 monsters deep, mate. Were you not here at the start of the podcast? Were you still waking up? Do you need a monster? Because I fucking told you.
I do, mate. I think I do. I've just had a coffee, one of my mushroom coffees. But I think I definitely need something with a wee bit more of a high dose of caffeine in it.
I'll tell you what, mate. We will pause the podcast right now. You go and take 3 cans of Monster, nothing short of it. We'll give it exactly 52 minutes to hit optimization. We'll then go, where are we now? And you can wrap that up.
Oh, I would be terrified to think how much shit I can talk on 3 cans of Monster.
Right, trips are pausing here. We'll see. We're pausing, but we're pausing. No, I'm kidding.
Speaking of Monster as well, do you know what what a lethal dose of caffeine is? No caffeine.
Oh, I done an Instagram reel on this yesterday about the dangers of Monster. I don't know what okay, I'm going to say two things. I know the lethal dose of, or the dangerous dose of aspartame, which happens usually after about 14 to 15 cans of energy drink. But in terms of caffeine, I would
Yeah.
hazard a guess and say it's probably upwards of a gram and a half. Um, right or
I
wrong,
was looking for like a round number of milligrams.
of
Ma-
milligram.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd go above milligrams. I'd say it needs to be like, it'd be 1,500, something like,
Aye.
yeah.
I would say so as well. From my understanding, yeah, people can still function on like up to 1,000 milligrams, but they have to be used to that amount. If it was just some random Joe blogs coming in off the street and we fed them like two pre-workouts that had 250 milligrams per serving, then probably want to lock them in a padded room in a straitjacket for a couple hours until it dies down a wee bit. Um,
How many mate, how many clients have you had that have came to you and went, "Oh, I have about 5 coffees a day"? Like, I mean, I've
I
lost count
know.
of the clients, and mate, I'm not like I'm there at days myself, mate. Like, but 5 coffees a day can easily, I mean, easily be a gram, like 1,000 milligrams. Like, so if people are kind of functioning on 1,000, you can argue about functioning, but if people aren't dropping dead at 1,000 milligrams, I would say you need to be upwards of 1,500 to be on the potential risk factor sides of things. Now,
Yeah.
again, bearing in mind I'm not backing this, so you don't fucking quote me on it. I'm not got science in front of me to say that, but completely anecdotally and whatever, I'd say it needs to be upwards of 1,500. Now, people with heart defects, people with shite bags, all that, like they'll have different issues. But I'm pretty sure in college, mate, I've probably had upwards of 1,500 milligrams. You were there.
I was literally there, mate. Aye, you took off. You actually gained flight for a wee bit of time.
So I end up in Ireland, mate. Me and Ryan here.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal for the heart. I actually watched a YouTube video. Was it a YouTube video or an Instagram reel of a guy who took something crazy like 3 to 4,000 milligrams. He just had all these different workouts and Rockstar and Monster, and he was a young boy as well. Obviously, when you're young, you think you're fucking invincible. But yeah, something stupid, 3 to 4,000 milligrams, and um, he was literally seeing sounds, and he done what you did, mate. He had it all before he drove. So he had all this pre-workout, drove to the gym, done like two exercises, and was like, I need to leave. Like, I need to go home. So yeah, don't be a fucking dickhead like this guy when it comes to caffeine. But yeah, if you're used to it, if you've built up some sort of tolerance, which me and Kyle have, which you kind of tend to have to do when you're a PT and a coach, especially when you work in a public gym. If you built up some kind of tolerance to it, like your body, the human body is a fucking incredible thing. Like it can adapt to so many stresses and stuff that we put it under. So yeah, if you have got a good tolerance to caffeine, you can get away with having a good amount. Now, I don't recommend doing it on a regular basis, but just know that you can. It takes me a good few coffees to actually get it done anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what the maximal dosage is before you start to get um, a tolerance to it? Do you know what that is?
I don't, mate. No.
So science says it's between 3 and 400 milligrams. Now, bear in mind, again, this isn't based on body weight or anything. This is just general. It's like 7 to 8 hours sleep. It's like a fucking generic. Like it's got to be different person to person. But as far as science goes, 3 to 400 milligrams is typically the dosage that, like, if you stayed on 300 to 400 milligrams all your life, it should have a fairly steady effect on you, fairly predictable. The biggest issue is where it becomes a double-edged sword is when you start to go above that, where it starts to you become so tolerant to it. If you're constantly on 700 800 milligrams, which I know
Yeah.
people who quite easily do, like the first coffee of the day that you have is just bringing you back to a fucking base level. Like it's not doing what to do. It's like you used to take you from base to, oh fuck, I'm feeling good, and now you just, it's like the first coffee is like, oh fuck, I need this to make me feel normal.
Yeah.
Like anything though, that's like, as Gary said, and actually did say after it, is like, whilst you can get away with it, you shouldn't abuse it. Like, bodies are incredible, but if you abuse your body over time, it is going to show signs of that. Like anything, you abuse anything over time, it's going to show signs of it. But yeah, a lot of the time you can get away. But like I would actively endorse at times, because coffee and caffeine as a fat burner suppresses appetite. For people who are and willing to do it, I'm like, not saying this is healthy long term, is you can go upwards of 500 milligrams, which is over 3 coffees a day, to help get a bit of like a thermogenic effect, you'll burn more calories, which for the short term purpose of it isn't a bad thing. But again, this is where you need to be clear. If I was doing that as part of a challenge and was like, I'm giving everybody a gram of caffeine to do for 12 weeks and didn't tell them why, didn't tell them like what happens after 12 weeks or how to taper that. Mm-hmm. If I've still got people trying to do that week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, like that's where we start to have problems because like they've done it for too long, they're burning themselves out, but it's not having the same effect. Like it's important to know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and when you're doing it. Why, what, when, who. There you go.
Yeah. And where you're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Shall we wrap this one up there? Because you've been busting for a piss for quite a while now.
I've wet myself, mate. It's fine.
And we've covered just over an hour, which is always good. Merry Christmas, mate. When it comes, this will be released just before Christmas. But yeah, Merry Christmas when it happens. Merry Christmas to everybody listening. We will have. Are we doing an episode next week before New Year?
I was kind of thinking that you threw us right in there. I got the second last episode before the end of the year. I was like, fuck, I thought this was the last one. So,
is it the last one?
Well, technically, mate, it's Christmas on Wednesday. Thursday is Boxing Day, and we're driving over. I don't arrive to Scotland till midnight on Friday. What I'd say is, if we're doing one, we can possibly do it together in person. We'll do that.
Mate, how class would that be?
We can blur the background and me and you can have a great time. The green and white room. But I was going to say, we'll do that. If we can make that happen. I'm going to be completely honest, we're not able to commit to that till we actually get that sorted off air. But I'd say if we are having an episode before New Year, it'll be in person together.
We'll try our best to make it happen, folks. We'll try and get an actual in-person podcast on the go. Fuck knows how we're going to record it, but we'll figure it out.
Have you got one of those obnoxious Rode mics?
No, I've just got a £20 Amazon mic.
I was going to get the two microphones, and we can look like Weller men together, fucking speaking the microphones. But yeah, for everybody who's listening, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that crack that comes along with it. Thanks for another year. Oh, I say another year as if we got a full year under the belt of Fit With Us before, but you're listening to the top. Must be 3% of podcasts at this point.
Oh, we're making waves, man.
Gary, where can they find you?
Instagram at gmac_health and fitness. Kyle, where can they find you?
Kyle_biofitness1 on Instagram. I was going to say at hotmail.com.
On Instagram. On Instagram. That caffeine is wearing off. Right, thank you so much
to Dave and Toby for giving us the tunes, mate. You fucking let us down there, mate. But it's sound. Right, so Dave and Toby, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. See you later. Bye.